Welcome back to Perf Damage.
Welcome.
This is the show where we examine the secret histories of Hollywood.
And we talk about film restoration, and we're doing both of those today.
Yeah, as we do most times. But this time, what are we talking about?
Sunset Boulevard. By request.
Yes, this is one that everybody's asked us for a little while.
It is. We're going to talk about the new restoration.
Yeah, we're going to go into a little bit about the making of the film.
That's right.
Yeah, I just want to throw in a few fun facts before we get into the nuts and bolts of the actual restoration stuff.
Some deeper facts that maybe you haven't heard before.
Right.
And share some details about the new restoration. And some of the old ones, too.
So if you're interested in Sunset Boulevard and its restoration,
I know you are.
Stay tuned. Oh, no, not again. Hey, movie lovers, I'm Adam.
And I'm Charlotte.
And welcome to Perf Damage.
We're a movie-obsessed husband and wife team who work in the film industry. I oversee film restoration at the oldest studio in Hollywood.
And I bring the inside track from film development and production. And we love to explore the hidden tales of movies past and present.
So join us for a cinematic journey like no other.
From classic gems to examining the art of the double feature, this is Perf Damage.
Popcorn popped, wine at the ready. Let's press play.
All right, Charlotte. So let's talk about Sunset Boulevard.
Let's do it.
Sunset Boulevard, unequivocally one of the most famous films of all time. It's so incredibly quotable.
And quote the whole thing.
Yeah, 11 Academy Award nominations, won 3.
Should have won 4, at least.
Gloria Swanson's big comeback.
Robbed.
So, if you're not familiar with it, maybe we'll just play the trailer so that way.
Roll it.
Roll it.
Yes, you'll read the big black headlines about Norma Desmond and this Hollywood scandal. But you'll never read the true story about the rest of us who were part of it. Me, for instance, Joe Gillis, a promising young writer from Dayton, Ohio. And Betty, that nice kid I met at a Hollywood party. Because this is a Hollywood story about the people who make the movies. The little ones that you never hear of, like Betty and me. The great ones, like Cecil B. DeMille. All those who knew Norma Desmond. A strange woman who left her mark on all of us, who crossed her path.
Joe? Where are you? What's this all about?
Why don't you come out and see for yourself? The address is 10,086 Sunset Boulevard.
Yes, come out to see for yourself the film that reaches a new milestone of dramatic daring. The film that every critic says is a giant among motion pictures.
We were watching Sunset Boulevard on the Paramount lot the other day. Mm-hmm. You did a Q&A beforehand and talked about the restoration.
Yep.
And when the credits came up, I noticed there was a third writer on the film. So when you think about this, you think of the two writers, the famous writing team of Billy Wilder and Charles Brackett. Mm-hmm. But I noticed there was a third name attached to it, D.M. Marshman Jr.
Yep.
And I was like, who the heck is this guy?
I know. Nobody ever mentions him.
No one ever mentions him.
But he's credited.
Yeah, I mean, this is famously the last film that Brackett and Wilder did together.
Yep. It's the one that broke them up.
They broke their team up afterwards. But, so I did a little diving into this, and I was like, who is this guy? And apparently he was a reviewer for Life magazine that they both really, really liked. And they had done this, they brought on a third person to help them write their films for 3 years prior to this. Marshman was just the latest of these guys that they brought in.
Kind of a neutral grounds kind of guy.
Well, I think, yes, there's a lot of contention between the two of them, but they also were saying that by adding a third person to bounce ideas off of, it kept them from getting stale. They did not want to do the same type of material anymore. And so by bringing a third person in there, no matter what material they were doing, that person would be able to.
It's so funny they would think of themselves as stale because Sunset Boulevard is anything but stale.
Right.
I mean, it's so timeless.
Yeah, but Charles Brackett did not want to poke the bear. He didn't really want to do this script. the way that Billy Wilder did it. He didn't like the mean-spiritedness of it. He didn't like the ageism of it. He thought that, they should be treating Hollywood with reverence instead of, pulling back the curtain on it. So Dia Marshman Jr. was there the entire time. He was there during the production of the film. And in fact, this film, when they went into production, did not even have a complete script. I find that insane, like especially in the studio system. It just shows what big stars Billy Wilder and Brackett were at this point, that the studio would greenlight a film with only the first act written.
And the script, they weren't even calling it Sunset Boulevard then.
No,
either.
it was under a working title.
Yeah, A Can of Beans.
Right, yep.
You'll never forget that name.
It was greenlit off a 30-page treatment, and it was just covering basically the first act. They were still working it all out when they went into production.
Do you think they did that on purpose, or?
They did. Billy Wilder said that they like to keep the final act open because they would like it to come out of the performances that they get from the actors in the film. And it's also a way that they were able to do a lot of the stuff that they did without the studio getting involved.
Well, it's interesting because this film, spoiler alert.
Is there really spoilers for a movie that's been around as long as this movie?
75 years. Yeah. I mean, sure. You've been warned, okay? The movie, as it is now, it starts at the end of the story.
Right.
Although that wasn't actually how they shot it.
Not the way the script was written.
Right. Actually, that reminds me, I didn't even think about this before we started recording this episode, but in the archive, we reconstructed the original opening of Sunset Boulevard because they started with a different scene originally. They shot a whole separate opening for the film that
famously
starts in a morgue.
There is a scene that has been deleted. Not all the footage exists still.
No, hasn't been found yet.
Right.
My colleagues and I, we recreated the opening scene, or what we think it could have looked like. There's some stills in there, and we recorded voices and stuff like that. You do a voice.
I do a voice. You do a voice.
Maybe we should play it.
Yeah, we'll play it. So here you go. You're going to see the deleted scene.
The reconstructed.
Not the way Billy Wilder directed it, but reconstructed the way that Perf Damage.
Yeah, here's what the opening scene sort of maybe looked like.
Yeah.
I speak to Miss Betty Schaefer. She must be home by now.
Hey, Betty.
The address is 10,086 Sunset Boulevard.
Don't be scared. There's a lot of us here. It's all right.
I'm not scared.
How did you happen to die?
What difference does it make?
I died of a heart attack myself. Was going to retire right here in LA. I had a nice pension from the Seattle City Bank and a nice little bungalow all picked out. The agent was just about to show me the avocado tree when it happened.
That's a shame.
Only lucky thing is, I hadn't signed the lease.
Me? I drowned.
So did I. I drowned. Right off the pier at Ocean Park. I bet Pinky Evans I could stay underwater longer than 2 minutes. And I did too.
You wouldn't know if Satchel Paige beat the White Sox yesterday.
No, I wouldn't. I died before the morning paper came.
Doggone it. I was hauling some oranges down from San Bernardino, and I just tuned into the baseball scores when she hit me. Crash. Some dame in a Chevy coupe that was all smashed and stove in and turned turtle. You'd have thought I'd be all right in a 2-ton truck. Ha! She crawled out and lit herself a cigarette, and me, lying dead at the crossroads in the middle of all them oranges.
I wish my folks would come and get me.
They will. Don't worry.
Do you think they'll be sore at me?
No, they won't. They'll come for you, and they'll have flowers, and they'll take you someplace where it's sunny and green, and tuck you away to lovely dreams.
Certainly ought to be more lifeguards with all the taxes we pay. Where did you drown? The ocean?
No, swimming pool.
A husky fellow like you?
Well, I had a few extra holes in me. 2 in the chest and 1 in the stomach.
You were murdered?
Yes, I was murdered.
Number 17 was murdered too. Interesting man. He was a bookie, he told me, working for an Eastern syndicate. Only he started taking little bets on his own. So he sent out a couple of men from Chicago. I wonder if the police will ever put that one together.
They'll never put mine together right. It'll be a good joke. Lying here like a jigsaw puzzle all scrambled up with the cops and the Hollywood columnists trying to fit in the wrong pieces.
Hollywood? You in the movies?
Yeah, came out in 45 to catch me a swimming pool. And by gosh, in the end, I got myself one. Only there turned out to be blood in it.
Were you an actor?
No, a writer. Never had my name on anything big though. Just a couple of B pictures. One stinker, and the other one, well, that wasn't so hot either. I was having a tough time making a living.
It's your dying I was asking about.
Well, I drove down Sunset Boulevard one afternoon. That was my mistake. Maybe I'd better start off with the morning of that day. I've been out of work for 6 months.
So yeah, maybe you can see why they didn't go with that as the opening of the film.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird tone, and I think that was what people were responding to.
Yeah.
It does, you don't know whether it's a comedy or a drama at this point.
Yeah, and the way that they start the film now, or the way that they ended up starting the film, it's very clear
that this is a very kind of film noir-esque drama, right?
Dude getting shot right at the beginning. We know what the tone is. We know what to expect here.
Right. Yeah. This famously was laughed off screen at the
preview screening.
Yeah. Billy Wilder said that he wished that any of his comedies had been laughed at as hard as this film was.
Yeah. And was this the one? Because I know you read a lot of research, which Charles Stepsick from the archive, who we got to thank for doing all this incredible research. I wish he was here.
Well, and he worked on the restoration with you. So,
Yep, he was the senior preservation manager on that.
Yep.
Charles wrote the book on Sunset Boulevard.
He did.
Literally.
He should have actually written a book. He should have published this.
He should have. He's got all this amazing research because he worked on the 2012 restoration and on the new restoration that we just did. I think there's a story about the town that they previewed this in was a dry town and had no alcohol. Was that in there?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's slowly coming back to me, and how they wished that they had a drink, and that was a thing for Billy Wilder. He always had a martini before the preview screening, and he couldn't do it before this one. So that was sort of adding injury to insult.
Yeah.
Insult to injury.
Yeah.
One of those.
Well, either way.
I
mean, if you can't have a martini when you need one, that's injury to insult right there. Yeah, so that was one of the two major deleted scenes. The other one was what's it called?
Paramount Don't Want Me Blues.
Yes.
That was the song.
Yeah, there is a big, long musical interlude in the film.
Well, they did a different song instead.
Like-
Buttons and Bows.
Well, it's also not the full song where this
No,
was like a full production of a song that was written specifically for the film.
I got those head, a hopper fluffs me. Jimmy Fiddler loves me. Paramount don't want me blue.
So I kind of wanted to talk about like the casting process.
Then do it.
Because, you know, despite
just do it.
Despite the fact that Gloria Swanson is amazing in this film, she was not the first person that the team approached.
Not the first, not the second, not the
Not
third.
the third or the fourth, actually. So originally they went to Mae West.
No.
Can you imagine Mae
No.
West in that role?
No.
Well, first of all, Mae West didn't think she was old enough to play the part, even though she hadn't done a movie in over a decade and was in her 50s, like mid-50s at this point. But she thought she was too ravishingly good-looking for, you know, for this to be a believable role for her.
Sounds like she was living the part.
Yeah, in a way. And you know,
Well, I'm glad she
all of
turned it
these
down.
women that they approached were kind of living the part.
I can't imagine her in that.
No, it would have turned into some, you know, sex
look at
comedy.
me, ugh.
Yeah. Hey, come up and see me.
Yeah.
Why don't you come up sometime, see me?
That's what.
Why does she sound like Groucho Marx?
So after that, they went to Mary Pickford, who would have been also a very, very good choice because, you know, she lived on the exact kind of estate that Gloria Swanson does in the movie called Pickfair, because she'd become a movie executive at that point. She'd stopped acting, but she was running United Artists. So she thought that she was also too young and too virile to be this old passé person. So after that, they went to Greta Garbo. And I think Greta Garbo would have been really good in the film.
She would have been great.
That you could see her retreating from society like she actually did.
They name check her in the film still.
They do. They got her permission to use her name too. They went to Pola Negri, who was a famous silent star. And this one was not like a formal offer. They just talked to her on the phone. She had too thick of an accent. She was known for walking her pet leopard down the street of Beverly Hills. She wore a lot of leopard print, in which they actually incorporate that leopard print that was very popular in the 20s into
the car.
her car. Yes.
Yeah.
And also in some of the drapery in her house. So that was kind of Pola Negri's thing that she made popular. George Cukor was talking to Billy Wilder, and he recommended Gloria Swanson. And the second they met with Gloria, they knew that was the right person. I mean, she famously, they asked her to come in and test for the film. And she famously said, "Darling, I don't test for films."
Right. And then that ended up in the film.
Yes. So, yeah, she, you know, very much was that character, but not delusional. She knew she knew exactly where she was. And actually, she was very popular on television at the time. She had the Gloria Swanson Hour in New York that she was shooting. So she had already had a comeback. She was working on Broadway and doing a television show. But this was her return to film. I also kind of found it interesting that Montgomery Clift was going to play Joe Gillis.
Yeah. Right up until
3 weeks before production. And then he bowed out. He didn't want to do it. He said, and this is really funny, he said that he didn't believe that he could convincingly make love to an older woman on screen. But famously, he was in a relationship with a woman in real life who was 20 years older than him and had been keeping him for years prior to that. So he was in an actual relationship with an older woman. And about the age difference that Joe and Gloria Swanson's character are in the actual film. The woman that he was in that relationship did not want this movie to lampoon the relationship that they were in. And she saw that there was a little bit of that in this. So he pulls out 3 weeks before the film. Then Paramount's scrambling to find somebody to replace. So the first person Billy Wilder goes to is Fred MacMurray, who he made a big star, who was actually working at Fox at the time. He was no longer under contract at Paramount because he had made him a giant star in Double Indemnity. And Fred MacMurray said he couldn't do it. Then they went to Gene Kelly, which I think would have been kind of an interesting, although Gene Kelly would have been a little older. Then they offered it to Gregory Peck, and Gregory Peck was also doing another film, so he couldn't do it. So then they landed on William Holden, who had made his name in a boxing film at the age of 21 called Golden Boy. And then had been coasting for like the last decade, kind of second and third banana roles. And this movie made him a star again. Famously, William Holden was also the fourth pick on this one.
You've said famously probably
like
10
14
or
times.
15
Yeah.
times,
Well, this movie is very famous. So this film was previewed for 8 months before it was released. They played it over 30 times before its actual general release.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And so, unlike most films and the way most films are released, Billy Wilder had the chance to tinker with this film in front of an audience with audience reactions for 8 months.
Wow.
And you wonder why it's so good and perfect, right? Like, this
Yeah.
film is absolutely perfect. It's because he had 30 shots to get it right. He'd do little trims. He'd like move some things. He would like delete lines that he thought made her seem unsympathetic. There was some tinkering with the waxworks scene. There was tinkering with the scene between her and DeMille that actually went a little longer. And there was a scene where DeMille kind of like afterward talks about like how passé she is and, you know, delusional and things like that, which they thought was mean-spirited. So they deleted that. Yeah, it was really, you know, little things to make the performances sing. You know, again, we could talk about this for hours just on like the production and things like that. But I just wanted to throw
There's
a little.
a lot of great documentaries on the making of this
Right.
film too, and we don't need to rehash those.
All right, Charlotte. Well, let's talk about the restoration, the real reason everybody's here.
All right. What do you want to know?
All the stuff, everything. Just tell us everything about it.
All right. Well, this is one of those films that when people ask you, what are you working on? And you say, I'm working on the restoration of Sunset Boulevard. They look at you and go, why? And I mean, it's a fair question because the film's been restored a couple times before.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the last restoration looks really good. The one from 2012.
Right.
You know, it set the bar annoyingly high for those of us that have to.
Annoyingly high, yeah.
Yeah, annoyingly high.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this, though. Every time a new kind of home video format comes out or a new technology comes out, you have to update these evergreen titles so that they're contemporary.
Yeah,
again.
because you can't take that HD master and turn it into 4K. You could up-res it, but we don't do that.
Oh, no. Paramount does not do that.
I'm not doing that. That's not within my team's policy, my little group there. We don't do that. So if it's a film element that we can go back to the film, it's not something that was originally like SD and, you know, there's no other option. If it's a film element, we can go and do a new transfer. That's what we're going to do on a title. This film, like we said, it's been restored before. The first one was in 2002. It had a pretty groundbreaking restoration that was done by Lowry. And if you're not familiar with the Lowry process, which was used on this, it was done on James Bond,
Indiana Jones,
I think Star Wars used it. So Lowry was a person, John Lowry, did a lot of restorations in the early, 2000s. And I mean, it was really groundbreaking technology. On Sunset Boulevard, they used 300 computers to clean up frame by frame each frame of the film. This was not AI, guys. This was 300 computers working to clean up all the frames of this film. And for DVD, this looked amazing. It was a groundbreaking restoration, and it looked great. But by the time HD rolled around in, 2010, 11, when we looked at that master, which was, an HD master, we could see that it did not look right.
So basically what you're saying is that when Blu-ray rolled around, the added resolution brought out all of the kind of shortcomings of the Lowry process, right?
Right. That you couldn't see in the DVD world.
Right.
And it was really the displays. And, it was everything that you were seeing more of it. So what you were seeing was that film grain had been removed. Things had been kind of smoothed or whatever. And it looked great on DVD. But in a Blu-ray world, on a high-def monitor, it didn't look so great. It kind of lost that organic quality. So when they did the 2012 restoration, the goal was to get back to that more organic, filmic look. And that's exactly what they did. And they did a fantastic job doing that. With the tools available at the time, they did everything super well, to the best of their ability at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to 2025. The tools have improved a lot. This is 13 years later. If I'm doing my math right.
I'm not good at math, so don't check with me.
Well, we started it. Actually, we almost worked on this for 2 years. So the tools have advanced a lot since then. So there are little things that we're able to do better. So when you start a new restoration, especially on a title like this, when it's been done before, that's the first thing you do. You look at what did they do then that we can do better now? Not let's redo the whole thing. Let's rewrite the book, but how can we improve on the stuff that's already been done? How can we,
especially since you're limited because your original element, you don't have the original negative on this film.
Correct.
Right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is something I should have said earlier. Well, I guess we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So,
So like some films from the 1950s, especially the early 1950s and the nitrate films, we don't have the original negative for Sunset Boulevard. So our best available element is a third generation element, which sucks because that means you're losing quality. You don't have that crisp original element. So, you're going down generations. So you're never going to have that beautiful, pristine look that people are expecting to see in a 4K world now.
Right.
So our best available element is a third generation, and that's the same element that they used for the 2012 restoration. One thing that we did do is we have a print that we looked at because a lot of times in the 50s, they were actually making prints directly off the original negative.
Which would make it a second generation, which would be one generation better than the one that you guys used before, right?
So we scanned this print thinking, let's really dive in. Let's look at it pixel to pixel with this third generation element. And let's see, is this element better? And it wasn't.
No.
Which sucked.
Yeah.
Thought, man, what if we can get a better element?
That would have been so great, right?
Yeah, what a win for us.
Yeah.
No, of course not. No. So we're stuck with the same elements that they used, which isn't really a bad thing. It is what it is.
No, but it kind of speaks about what you were saying before. Why, right? Why then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're the same element.
Yeah, you're trying to say, well, we're doing this restoration because.
Yeah.
So we can use the same element. You can't use that same transfer that used on Blu-ray and put it in 4K. It's not going to work. We're not going to up-res it. So we have to do a new transfer for it to be able to, be released in 4K. So again, we look at the old transfer and we see there was some stability issues. For example, there's image stability. And that's something that we can fix a lot easier now, thanks to just the improvement in tools.
Right.
So that was one thing that we addressed. So another thing that we found whenever we were looking at the element, or rather we didn't find when we were looking at the third generation element, were 14 frames. Turns out that our third generation element was actually missing 14 frames. Before we talk about how we actually went about fixing these, I wanted to show you what it's like and what it actually looks like when one of these frames is missing. All right, so the first thing that we're going to look at is from the Schwab's pharmacy scene. And you see here at the bottom of the screen, there's a splice. At the top, there's a splice. Bottom splice, top splice. And see, what you're looking at is where somebody actually cut out the frame. And if you look at the guy on the left, you'll see that he kind of moves a little bit further than he should, walking into the frame. He kind of moves further. So in that instance, there was a frame that has been removed there. And if you can see in real time there, he kind of popped, watch it again, boop. It's kind of hard to see, but when you're looking at the scan there, you can see the splice marks. So that's a good indicator that something's been removed. Here's another one from Betty's office. Boop. Did you see it? Here it is again. Boop. Did you see it? And then we'll slow it down a little bit. Boop. It's really kind of hard to see. You can kind of see your hand.
Yeah, those are also called jump cuts,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. So here's the pull side. This one's a little easier. Boop. See that one? Now, focus on Joe. Watch him walking across. Bloop. Did you see it? That was a little easier to see.
Almost looks like he stumbles.
All right, now I know you're watching the splice marks, so I took him away for this one. So this is the expert level. So can you see it here? Did you see it? Did you see it? All right, I'll give you one more time. All right, look for it again. Did you see it? All right. I'm going to let you see the splice marks here to know I'm not joking. Do you see it? Now, if you saw that last one without the splice marks, you might want to think about a job in QC because you got really good eyes. Yeah. It doesn't sound like a lot to replace 14 missing frames, but when you replace 14 jump cuts, that's huge.
Or for 14 whole scenes that would have had to have been
Gone
the fourth
down.
generation as opposed to the third generation.
So to fix those kind of things, what we did is we used like an image interpolation. So you use the frame before, the frame after, and you recreate a frame. And that's how you fix that, essentially.
Without losing
resolution. Yeah, again, not anything that's never been done before. You can see, I've seen it on, I don't even know how many restoration notes whenever I'm reading something. I think in the Capra set, there was a note from Grover Crisp about that recently. I remember, I was like, oh yeah, look, he did that too. Anyhow. So again, it wasn't anything new, groundbreaking, but we'd never done that on Sunset Boulevard before.
And that's 14 scenes that
we
can
didn't
now
have
be
to go down a generation.
that are now nicer looking than they were in the last one.
Exactly.
So.
And that's a win, right? And that's what we're trying to do. So again, that was something that sets us apart from the last restoration.
Right. But what really sets you apart from the last restoration?
Well, that, my friend, would be the audio.
Yeah, the audio.
Yeah, so this is the thing that is really the most exciting to talk about because this is what's really different. Here's a couple clips that feature the voices of Charles Stepsick, the Senior Preservation Manager at Paramount, and Liz Kirksey, the Head Librarian of Audio Preservation at Paramount, and they're going to help tell the story of the audio restoration.
Over the course of the project, the audio work was split between two facilities, one based in Hollywood and the other halfway around the globe, each bringing their particular expertise. Let's take a closer look at this part of the restoration, starting with the condition of the best surviving audio elements and how the two vendors collaborated.
The most original audio sources that survived are dupe optical tracks. Unfortunately, a lot of dirt was printed into these copies. When dirt is printed into picture, it shows up as visible spots on screen, but when it's printed into audio, it shows up as noise. The result is a high noise floor, often heard as hiss.
You like it here?
Thanks for the invitation. I've got my own apartment.
But if you listen closely, underneath all that noise, the original frequencies, warmth, and the character of the performances are still there.
Okay, we'll deduct it from my salary.
Now, don't let's be small about such matters. We won't keep books.
The previous restoration addressed the high noise floor by rolling off the high frequencies.
Okay, we'll deduct it from my salary.
Now, don't let's be small about such matters. We won't keep books.
This made the track more comfortable to listen to, but at a cost. Dialogue and music became dulled and lost some of their natural richness.
Suppose you make up your mind. Do you want this job or don't you?
So, as you just heard, the master that's been available on disc and streaming for the last 20 years sounds pretty good. Definitely a big step up from the raw source. But when we listened carefully to that raw track again,
Now, don't let's be small about such matters. We won't keep books.
We realized that underneath the hiss, there are layers of warmth and richness in the voices and the music that hadn't fully survived the previous pass. To truly restore Sunset Boulevard to its original sound, we needed to remove the hiss without damaging or losing that good audio. Similar to the picture, we don't have original elements for the audio.
Right.
So in order to combat that, what they do is they kind of roll off the high, roll off the low, just to get rid of that hiss to make it a more listenable track.
Yeah, they call it the noise floor.
Yeah. So you're getting rid of that noise floor just so you're not like hearing a shh.
So just like image.
Yeah.
Sound works the same way. So you have your original generation and then they dupe it down by re-recording it.
Yeah, those
which
of you from
increases the noise floor.
From the cassette era.
Right.
Think about making a copy of a tape and a copy of a tape. How
yep.
bad that would sound. I mean, that it's the same thing.
Yep.
So we didn't want to do that because once you hear the full range of something, you don't want to compromise that. So we started doing all kinds of things, playing around at Deluxe Audio where we did the audio restoration. And we started doing all kinds of things, playing around. What can we do to preserve, the full dynamic range of the audio, but like get rid of the noise floor? We tried this and we tried that, and nothing was working. In newer films, and by newer, we mean anything made after 1960, audio is typically separated into stems: dialogue, music, and effects tracks. This separation makes cleanup much easier, allowing you to target specific frequency ranges, upmix to more channels for greater clarity and immersion, and have more flexibility overall. But Sunset Boulevard was single channel mono with no separations. So we didn't have a DME is what he's saying. So we didn't have dialogue on one track, music on one, effects on the other, which a DME is great because then you can really fine tune your edits, and for noise floor, then you can really attack if it's mostly on the music track or the effects track or the dialogue. You can really target where you make those adjustments to.
Or if you have them, you could honestly do like a full remix on it to improve the audio quality.
Yeah, you can bring up the dialogue here or bring up the music here, or, you can do all that kind of stuff. But what we had instead of those 3 tracks was one track together, a mono comp track. So our options were really limited with that. So we were really starting to think that we were, out of options, and we didn't want to compromise the dynamics that we heard, because Norma Desmond's, Gloria Swanson's performance as Norma Desmond has this sing-song quality. And once you hear all the dynamics, that she does, and then you hear that kind of tampered down a little bit, you lose a little bit, and you don't want to lose that. Once you hear what's there, you don't want to lose it.
Well, the worst thing you can do is impact the performance, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that you want to capture.
When you didn't know you had lost it, it was fine. Again, that the restored mono, from the last transfer is great.
Yeah.
But once you hear like what could be there, you don't want to take it away. So again, we were starting to think that we were out of options, and we were just going to deal with the higher noise floor, just because we wanted, a bigger dynamic range in the audio.
We explored several tools used mostly up to that point for music replacement. None could accomplish exactly what we needed for this level of restoration. Most could extract dialogue and some effects, but couldn't create a clean music stem, or else the extracted dialogue didn't sound quite right. But at that time, we were actually about to give up when the Beatles' Get Back documentary came out, and someone suggested Park Road Post. Park Road Post-Production, based in New Zealand, is owned by Peter Jackson's Wingnut Films. They've been training their audio restoration AI tool called Mal for years. They hadn't used it on anything quite as old as Sunset Boulevard yet, though, which made the collaboration interesting for us both. We learned a lot through this experience. First was how to specify our expectations when working with another company and an ML tool that can be adjusted during a back and forth process. Part of it was that restoration means different things to different people, and the initial test we got back was actually too clean. We don't want to add anything to the sound that wasn't already there. We just want to remove anomalies introduced by time and repeated use, with dialogue as the priority. Park Road was able to adjust the output until we got separated dialogue, music, and effect stems that sounded just like the original recording, but with the noise miraculously gone.
So they're machine learning tools, which they've named Mal, which in Spanish means evil. I don't think that,
that's just perpetuating the AI thing.
I know,
it's just so sad.
It really is. But it's amazing what they did, because so they sent us split tracks. So we have dialogue, music, and effects, and then they removed the noise floor. So not only did they split the tracks, but we got that noise floor out of there.
So now you have clean tracks as if you had the original raw tracks.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're able to restore a mono track and make it sound just amazing.
Exquisite.
But because we have split tracks, we also had the opportunity to create a 5-1, which I don't really like doing for classic films, because you just don't really need it, especially a film like Sunset Boulevard, which I am so close to. I adore this film. And I mean,
Yeah, she annoyingly knows all of the dialogue and says it along with the film. So honestly, you're watching the film in stereo. I didn't really need 5.1 because I had it in
Is
stereo
annoying?
already.
Is it not annoying? Anyways, so we had the tracks and we're at Deluxe and we decide, let's hear what a 5.1 test sounds like. You know, might as well hear what it sounds like. All right. And I was really ready to just say no, thank you. You know, it's great, but you know, not for us. You know, don't call me, I'll call you, kind of thing. But so we go in and we hear this test, the 5.1, and it was incredible. The narration fit perfectly in a 5.1. It just it made sense in a 5.1 environment. The music surrounds you.
Yeah, Franz Waxman's score just sounds so full.
Oh my God, when she walks down the stairs at the end, it just envelops you. You know, I mean, it sounded so good. So we ended up going for it and we did a 5.1.
Okay, so most music scenes are score. They're intended to be heard by the audience only. So that's easy to understand that you have big music out around, but the characters aren't involved in that. But in this scene, the characters themselves should be hearing this music and be surrounded by it. Their conversation with each other shouldn't be sitting on top of the music. It's around them. So as a viewer, you're experiencing this room the way the characters are.
Don't bend back like that.
It's that thing. It tickles.
It does.
But we kept it tasteful because that's the one thing I don't want to do is make it
when people go overboard and do all this directional stuff.
You know, on the restored disc, there is the 5.1 that we did. And the thing is, I think if you put it on, you're not even really going to notice it's 5.1, except for the scene where Joe Gillis gets a blowout and the car swerves from this way to this way. And you'll notice the tire squeals go over here and then over there. So we had a little fun with that. But other than that, you won't really notice that it's a 5.1. You should just notice.
Other than the fullness,
you should just notice that it sounds good.
Right.
I mean,
you kept it classy is what you're saying. Kept it classy.
Is there a more unclassy word than classy? Really?
Well, I think a 5.1 is actually a good thing for new viewers.
Yeah.
Because people are now used to hearing things with a surround sound.
Yeah, well, with a modern theater system, that's what sounds good. And for a DCP in a theater, which we knew this was going to go out as a theatrical release, this premiered at Cannes.
Yeah. On the beach.
This is something that's going to sound better as a 5.1.
One of the things about restoration is to make it contemporary, for the current technology.
It's about adapting it, but without changing it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
so
fine
there
line.
is the 5.1 and there is the mono on there too if you're a purist.
Yes. So the new disc, if you got it, we're talking about the 4K disc. So if you bought the 4K disc of the new restoration, you'll have the 5.1, you'll have the restored mono. The 5.1, listen to the 5.1. It's great. It's so good. And that was Deluxe Audio, Blake Tusher over there, who Ripley loves. I don't know where Ripley's at. She's hiding. And this is really the heart of that restoration. It's not about reinventing the film. It's not about showing off the latest tools just because we can. It's about giving the film the space to feel like itself again. With all the richness, the texture that makes Sunset Boulevard so special. I want to make sure that we really thank the people that were involved in this restoration. Charles Stepsick, who we thanked a little bit earlier for the research. Charles is amazing. He does such incredible work. He's so meticulous. I wish he was here. To talk about the restoration. Although this would probably be a really long episode if he was here, because he's got so many facts about the film.
Yes.
He was really the heart of this restoration. So thank you, Charles, for all the work that you did on this. The other person who really drove this was Elizabeth Kirksey, who we mentioned, who was, liaison with Park Road, who
she oversaw all the audio restoration.
Yep. And, I mean, the three of us were there at every session. So, it was really it was a trio.
Well, that's what we always say. That restoration isn't a single person's effort.
Not at all.
It is a group effort.
Yeah. So a lot of the color work was done on the lot at Paramount Post that was done by John Dunn. And a big shout out to Marissa there too, who did a lot of work on this. Also, MTI did a lot of the fixes, a lot of the corrections, and some of the image fixes that we did. Marissa also did those at Paramount Post. And Deluxe Audio too. Blake Tusher, who we said Ripley loves. Rip. That was her. that was her clapping, I think.
Yeah.
She loves Blake, and Blake did the audio on this one. He did the 5.1, he did the mono with those tracks. And then, of course, Park Road, Wingnut Films for their incredible work, their MAL software.
Can't thank them enough, honestly.
Oh,
like they made this restoration.
Yeah. Their work on the audio was just incredible, and they were just such a pleasure to work with, the whole team over there. So if you've got audio work to do and you need something incredible done, go to Park Road. They can make magic happen. Also want to give a shout out to Andrea Callis, who was still the head of the archive and the whole team whenever this restoration was greenlit, and who was there with us when we restored the film. She is not at Paramount anymore. She left us for Iron Mountain, but still special thank you to Andrea, because she's missed at Paramount. So anyhow, the disc is out.
The disc is out.
Yeah.
So buy your copy of the 4K.
Yeah. We bought our copy.
Unfortunately, we have to buy our copy.
Yep. But we got the special edition from Zavvi. Yes. The 4K disc. That's the one that we worked on. There's also a Blu-ray. That is not the new transfer. Not the new transfer. That's the old one.
That's the 2012.
Great. This is the annoyingly high bar. This is the new transfer.
You can compare them.
You can compare them all you want.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought people had been asking about that one, and I thought we should cover it. It's an important film. It's an important restoration. You guys worked so hard on it.
We worked for almost 2 years on this. You work on a film like Sunset Boulevard, and the whole time you're pinching yourself. How am I working on this?
So I guess until next time, thanks for joining us here on Perf Damage. Sunset Boulevard, 11 Academy Award nominations, won 3.
Yeah,
it's
you
one
gotta,
of the most famous films of all time. Something like that.
Tape your hands down.
They're taped, and I'll just be like,
yeah, I know.